Welcome, everyone, to the Indie Reds podcast. I'm your host, Joe Dilling. And you know what? It's actually even a little bit of a special. It's our 3rd year anniversary podcast. We started the 1st of February in 2017 or 2018. 2017. And we're here and we're still kicking. So with me tonight, we have Kenny Baldwin and gin connoisseur Brian Smith. Welcome to the podcast, both of you gentlemen.
Good evening. It's the hard truth is Liverpool's going to win the league. So there you go.
Hard truth of the gin. Okay. So I really liked how last time we just kind of threw out some topics and just chatted, had a kind of chat. So I think we're going to stick with it for a little bit. Also, I want to welcome, we got a whole bunch of new followers today on Twitter. So if this is your first time listening to us, thank you. Welcome. This is your 3rd year listening to us. Hello and welcome. So on this pod, we're going to talk about Southampton visit. We'll probably talk about when LFC might win the league, as well as we'll do what we can with this Shrewsbury recap. Talk about how we might line up against Chelsea in the 5th round of the FA Cup. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of telling people why they're wrong, and we're going to laugh a little bit. So let's just jump right in and talk about some Southampton stuff. So the first thing about when I was thinking about Southampton was, and I think a lot of people in their mind, if they don't pay that close of attention to anybody besides Liverpool, would be the 9-0 match that Leicester put on Southampton, earlier this season. So, however, they pretty much turned things around and they found themselves in 9th place. Also, Danny Ings has pretty much been on a tear lately. And, has been scoring and making a lot of Liverpool fans proud to see and happy to see him do well away from Liverpool. Lineup comes out. Mane still injured, as to be expected. Origi was a sub. I kind of had him there starting, but he must not have been 100%. And so guys, were you surprised at all with the lineup when it came out?
Welcome back, Kenny. Go ahead. What'd you think about the lineup?
Yeah, no, I didn't really catch anything as a surprise, for lack of a better term. With having Ox in there, it was definitely an interesting mixture there in the midfield, which, as not to get ahead of ourselves here, but certainly for the first half, it showed some getting used to in that first half, because obviously with Amane out of the lineup, Origi not in there playing that third front man role, it certainly caused a little bit of a weak in the knees sort of feeling, and it kind of showed on the pitch, at least for the first half. But what did you think, Brian?
Well, the back five is exactly what it's been forever. And, it's good to see Fabinho back and getting a start. I want him to get sharper and sharper. And Gini and Hendo next to him make some sense. As you mentioned, Ox kind of started on the left wing, but was kind of floating between what Mane would do and kind of a more traditional kind of midfielder role. He certainly wasn't central. It wasn't a diamond or anything like that.
No.
But in Southampton's lineup was kind of exactly what we expected. So really the only thing was Ox and where was he going to play and what kind of formation we're going to be in, traditional 4-3-3, or are we going to make some changes to that to allow him to do some of the things that he does well that maybe Ox doesn't do as well. It turns out I think it limited Robertson's space going forward in the first half a little bit, and maybe we'll get to that. But lineup-wise is about to be expected, and it's great to see Fabinho back out there in the starting 11.
It was. I didn't really process it right, Brian, but I think you're exactly hit the nail on the head. I just thought that it'd be kind of back to our same formation and slot Ox in for Mane. That's what I would have done with Origi, because I thought when Origi played it the week before, I thought he looked really good, especially in West Ham, coming in from the left. And I was kind of thinking we'd see that again, but with the injury, it didn't happen. And I didn't notice it so much, but I think but now that you say it, I tend to agree. I think it might have dampened Robertson a little bit, because Ox did kind of play a little bit more of a floating position. He didn't really stand out for me though, as being. Wait, he got a goal, didn't he? I'm going to shut up now.
He did. Yeah,
Well, he did, but that was
in the
until
first.
the
You
second
were
half.
correct in the first half.
Yeah, that wasn't until the second half. I don't know if
Yeah.
anyone stood out as exceptional in the first half, and maybe we'll
Danny
get that. But
the loanee.
Danny, we sold him.
Yeah.
So all right. So it wasn't very long into the match, and Brian, we've got to talk about it. I know you want to talk about it, but we've got to. Apparent shouts for a penalty, all over social media, all over media in general, about how Liverpool should have had Southampton should have had a penalty there for a back pass. Even some Liverpool podcasts that I've listened to earlier this week saying that should have been a penalty for a back pass. So Brian, we're loaded for bear. Why was that not a back pass?
well, first of all, it's not a penalty for a back pass; it's an indirect free kick. But I think you just meant a free kick for the back pass.
Okay,
or so listen to the announcer. The first thing he says is, "Does that count as a back pass?" That's exactly what he says. The stupid color guy says, "Yeah, it looks like one to me." Well, the announcer wasn't even sure at first, and the word deliberate or deliberately is in FIFA Law 12 about back passes. There's no way anyone on the planet can convince me that Robertson, about 4.5 or 5 yards from his goalkeeper, hits a ball that hard, a purposeful nutmeg on an attacker, to his goalkeeper on his goal line, on his weak foot, that he has to just thunder away as quickly as you can. There's no possible way that's a deliberate back pass. These other podcasts, ones that I love, Redman and I think Paul Mason on there said it was a back pass.
Yeah,
I completely disagree. There's no way that's a deliberate back pass. The word deliberately is in FIFA Law 12, in the rules, in the laws of the game, number 12. There's no way. He's trying to play that ball off the Southampton player and out for a goal kick. He ends up nutmegging the guy, and it goes to Allison, who picks it up. And even the announcer says, "Does that count as a back pass?" No, because that was not deliberately what he was trying to do. I think it's as simple as that. I know not everyone agrees with me, but that's just the way I see it. What do you think, Kenny?
I think I'm one of the few that do. When I first saw the play, I saw your post also on LFC Indianapolis, the Facebook page as well, and it made a lot of sense. It was exactly kind of what I thought in the moment. You kind of see Robbo preparing. He's looking at Allison. He hits this hard ball, which you wouldn't think would be passed. That's not a pass. He's trying to either deliberately get it going off the offending player and knocking it out for a goal kick, or he's trying and he successfully megs the guy, and it gets back to Allison, which it almost looks like a shocking penalty. It almost looks like Andy Robertson freezes a bit when he sees it kind of go through the guy, because he didn't intend it at all. And obviously the deliberate message that you were talking about definitely makes sense in this circumstance. And I remember watching it and hearing the commentators and going, that's not a back pass, and kind of questioning myself until I saw your post later on. So it was good to get some reassurance from the Facebook page.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, Joe, I didn't know that the word deliberately was in the law. I mean, I looked that up. Not everybody knows all the laws word for word. I certainly don't, but clearly these announcers don't. And that's okay. Some of them are complex, but I don't know. What do you think, Joe?
I remember that. I actually, for some reason, I remember that in the back pass rule. Usually if it takes a deflection or something like that, and it goes back, that doesn't count as a back pass. So I was at first,
right.
My initial thought was maybe it took a deflection off another player. But then now that you mention it and you read the deliberate, I do remember hearing, and gosh, this is going to go back 20 years since I've been following Liverpool. But I mean, that is in the rule. It has to be a deliberate back pass. You have to mean to pass it to the keeper, and it might be, people might be saying it's gray, on the deliberation of it, or deliberateness of it, and I can understand both sides of the argument. I watched a few GIFs of it, because I think I was driving at the time, getting kids to swim lessons or whatever. So I didn't really see it live. Watching it back later and just little clips of it, you know what? it looks skeptical, and in the pace of the game, I could see it. However, if you throw in there the whole deliberate aspect of it, and then you think about all the other little minor details, like Brian pointed out, definitely not a back pass. I don't think we got away with one, as as some people claim. So hey, fair enough. It was the right call on the field.
Well, the other thing about this too is he plays with the outside of his left boot. I mean, it's not a side foot. It's not that he's setting it up. I mean, it's done quickly. It's done kind of in the moment. And I think I want to praise Allison a little bit for the way he handled it. He just picked it up and kind of fell forward and secured it like it was, not anything difficult that he had to do, but he didn't one hand that or pull away from it or, immediately touch it and look towards the referee. He just two-handed it, kind of fell forward, covered it, and got up and played on. So that was kind of calm and cool and collected, and that helped, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, act like you've been there before. They do
it all the time. I mean, it's nutmegs inside your own 6-yard box, screamers with the outside of your foot to your keeper.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you've seen the first one in history. It's not like they happen every other week.
Clear it off the post. I mean,
that's right. That's what Trent was trying to do last week when he thundered one off his own post.
Oh my Lord!
Trying to deliver it back pass, I guess.
Oh man, that was wild. All right, so we came in the first half. We came close a few times, but also so did Southampton. This was just looking back at the first half. I mean, if nerves didn't play a point into it for at least me or us as fans, you could look back at this and as a neutral, it was a pretty good game of football. I mean, lots of chances, some better than others, a lot of back and forth. Southampton, credit to them, they tried to beat us at our own game. They were pressing, pushing, and got a couple good looks. And if we didn't have the best keeper in the world and the best back four in the world, they maybe back six if you count Allison in there too with Fabinho. It just it kept them out, kept it clean. We had some really good chances. I think their keeper had some really good saves as well. So things just didn't quite fall for us also. But what do you guys think about the first half? I mean, we pretty forgettable in the grand scheme of things. Nothing and a half. But what's your take, Kenny?
Well, I kind of agree with you there. It was a pretty testy match in that first half. It was really a tale of two halves, and I know Bobek's mentioned it before, but it seems like we're kind of a second half and later in the game team. But this match truly felt like it. It kind of seemed like we were on the back foot. Southampton was coming in with some great form, having several wins and draws away from home. So they were really kind of setting it up in the NBC coverage that this could be a trap game, essentially. And I kind of went into it with some fears, like, kind of having some feelings like the good old Braj days where Southampton would come to town and Mane was on the other side. And it could be a game where we squeak it out with a 1-0 win or a 2-1 win with a questionable call of some sort. But they really had the form, and it showed in that first half. But second half was really a different story altogether. And really, Danny Ings, as we mentioned before, he looked like he was back in his Burnley form before we bought him. So I was wondering where that came from, but he's certainly been on a tear lately.
To answer that question, his injuries really kind of dampened his time at Liverpool. Yeah. We saw some of that. He just didn't have the chance to really prove himself, I don't think, on the field for full matches. That's just my take. Brian, what did you think of the first half?
Well, Southampton played well. I think we, in hindsight, all recognize that. But even watching it live at UJ's with everybody, I mean, you could tell they were pressing us. We were giving the ball away a lot in midfield, but I think part of that was because they were the way they were playing, not necessarily that, we were terrible, but although we did have a few bad moments. One thing that they did, I mean, it was a traditional kind of 4-4-2, but their two up front ended up on the same side of the pitch a lot. We worked a lot of things through Trent on the right-hand side. I noticed they were, it was Shane Long and Ings. So, one guy might go wide out to kind of put a little bit of pressure on Trent, and that allowed their midfielder to deal with, our midfielders and wingers up there. But the other striker wouldn't just kind of hang out in the center by himself. He would go then up to Gomez. So that kind of cycle the ball back through the center backs again, wouldn't work. And they kind of forced us to play it into our midfield, whether it's Fabinho or Gini or Hendo, kind of forced us to do that since we couldn't kind of cycle it back around the back four again, so to speak. And that was tactical. That was smart. And there was a lot of times in the game, especially in the first half, where we couldn't really overcome that. And, Southampton played well. They I have to give it to them. The first half, I wouldn't necessarily want to say they were equal to us, but, the scoreline was still 0-0, and they were probably as good in the first half against us as anybody I've seen the last 10, 12 matches probably.
One of the things listening up, might have been the Weekender, it might have been a Redmond pod, but they had a guy on from Southampton, kind of just talking. And one of the interesting things for me is that Southampton, I didn't notice this before, but Southampton's coach or manager Ralph Hasselhut, he used to coach at Leipzig and had Naby Keita at Leipzig, and so this is the style that they're playing now. It's taken a while, but this is the kind of style that he played when he was at Red Bull Leipzig. So you see this kind of manifesting through, and that's kind of one of the things that we've seen with this change in the Southampton side, especially after that 9-0 thrashing. It was kind of like, okay, we did it your way, now let's do it my way, and I need you guys to all buy in. But yeah, it was exactly that. I had another comment, but I forgot, so it doesn't matter. But you're cycling through, and they are pressing, and they're hitting hard. And Brian, I think you hit the nail on the head, and I think Klopp saw it too. We're just giving the ball away in bad positions. Klopp admits at post-match, he never really does this too much, but he admitted to making specific halftime adjustments. He said post-match that we kept losing possession in bad places. He told them to work more through Fabinho to build the play. Double partner, for some reason. Double parter. Sorry, can't read my own notes. So, Brian, with you first, did you notice a difference in playing style in the second half? And two, not to shortchange the roles of anyone, but how good does it feel to have Fabinho back?
Well, as far as the change in the second half, I did notice a big change in tactics or our approach or, our methods to try to, break them down and create chances. But what I did notice is we were doing it at a lot faster pace. Fewer touches. The guys seemed to know, especially Fabinho and Hendo and even Gini to some extent. They were quicker on the ball. They were, making decisions faster. Fabinho dropped deeper in between the two center backs, to pick up balls, and that allowed then Bobby to drop even deeper, almost back in the midfield like he does so well. We just had more outlets available in the second half and allowed us to play a little bit quicker. I didn't think Fabinho was very good in the first half, but I'm giving him a pass since he's just now getting back. But, whatever Klopp said at halftime work. So for me, it wasn't necessarily a huge change that we could see tactically, formation-wise or, twice as many long balls or anything glaring like that. It was just we did everything we normally do. We just did it much quicker in the first half. At least that's the way I saw it. So what do you think, Kenny?
I agree. I think it looked like a tale of two teams between the first half and second half. Like you were saying, the Southampton had that kind of a Jurgen press in that first half. That's some new information that I learned, that the RB Leipzig coach was him. It kind of seemed like when we played,
I didn't know that either.
Those Red Bull teams, they've had that kind of German style that we kind of coined from Klopp when he first came over here. And it makes sense that it's working in the Premier League, and they're getting these results at Southampton here in the early going after they kind of adopted this new strategy. But getting back to Liverpool, that second half looked like a completely different team, and it made Ox look like he was a formidable talent. And obviously, it seemed like seconds into that second half, we looked like the old team, the team of old, and he scored a great goal from just outside the box. That went along the goal there. And it really just kind of saw, and Brian mentioned with Bobby, he kind of came back into the midfield, and he was very instrumental to the next two goals, I think even three, with Salah at least once, and Hendo, if I'm wrong,
Yeah,
I don't know if
Bobby
he
had
got
3
him.
assists.
He had 3, okay.
Amazing.
Yeah, I was pretty sure. Yeah, he was on all 3 of those next 3 goals. So it certainly it made a difference. That little tactical change, and obviously the Brazilian connection between Fabinho, Firmino, definitely helped and opened up some space for Salah. Salah had some chances in the first half, and even Gini did too, but it seemed like they weren't really connecting. So it definitely helped out.
All right, we got to talk about it. Ings is complaining because he feels
Are we in the
that
second half now?
Yeah,
Is that
second
right?
half. Second half.
Second half. Klopp's yelled at him, and here we go.
So he's driving. This is very early in the second half. He's driving into the box. Fabinho gets in front of him, wins the ball. In my opinion, Danny Ings looks to have gone down. It looks like it's just coincidental contact to me. Liverpool spring it and go and score a goal, while Danny Ings is just picking himself off of the pitch, complaining that he should have had a penalty. What do you guys think, man? Do you think do you think that Danny Ings was making a meal of it, doing what typically any striker would, or was there really maybe Fabinho came in late on it? Fabinho or Joe Gomez. It was one of the two.
Yeah.
Because there were 2 of them right there.
It looked like they kind of all, in watching back the replay earlier today before the pod, it looked like Fabinho was kind of coming in from the top of the box.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Gomez was originally challenging him. He kind of tried to slip in between 2 defenders there, and he gets through, and it looks like he takes 2 steps and then falls, which is what makes me think that he was trying to ham it up a little bit. I mean, granted, if he just went down after Fab's contact and didn't try to play himself into the box to get that, I think they would have called it just outside the box as a call there. But I think he really tried to sell it, and it may have also been his downfall there. So I think he tried to ham it up a bit.
Brian, what are you thinking, man?
What do you think I'm going to say?
No.
Because you have no
way.
idea
There's
what you
no
think I'm
way.
going to say.
I
mean, we haven't set this up or anything. I'm curious what you think I'm going to say.
I think you're going to say, yeah, no pen.
I think it's absolutely a penalty.
Really?
I do. I mean, it first, Kenny's onto something because he does take a couple steps after, the final contact and then goes down. So it's full speed on the surface, live at the pub. It doesn't look like a penalty. We're screaming at him, get up, because it wasn't very graceful. Not that you have to be graceful at a penalty, but it certainly wasn't clear cut. And the way that Ings ended up going down, lent itself to not looking like a clear cut penalty. But watching it back, and the VAR did look at it, the tackle kind of comes in, the ball's a little bit loose, and Ings kind of does this little 2-step thing and puts it past him. And, Fabinho plays it into Ings' left shin, and it goes forward, and then Ings is past him. Fabinho puts his right leg out again and gets Ings with basically the laces of Fabinho's right boot right onto the laces of Ings. And he tries to stay on his feet at that point, not very gracefully, like I said, but that does cause him to go to the ground. I've said many times on this podcast that we need to call penalties, or the game would be better off if penalties were called when guys don't go flying to the turf and sliding because it's full speed and they get absolutely clobbered. I think this is a penalty because of that extra reach with the right leg or right foot by Fabinho after the ball's past him. And I think it's a penalty.
See, I thought Joe Gomez won the ball. Well, I thought it was won the ball before there would have been any contact in there with Fabinho. And Brian, it looks like he's trying to run through him. I must have seen it differently, I guess. But it looks like how he's trying to run through him. You can't run through a guy and then fall over and expect a penalty. I kind of thought he was.
I
a little
agree
more
with you,
set.
but Fabinho sticks that right foot out there.
I thought
it
he
makes
looked,
contact again.
I thought he looked more set. Personally, I thought he looked more. I thought he looked more set in his spacing. Personally, I'll need to go back and watch it because I'm probably wrong. Brian, you love telling me how I'm wrong. So, I'll admit
maybe I'm
right
wrong.
Now, maybe
everybody was saying that was not a penalty. I'm the only one that thinks it is so far. So
that wasn't the only penalty shot that VAR looked at. So Brian, now I'm curious about your take for Bobby Firmino getting rugby tackled off of a ball that's coming in that he could have played. Should that have been a penalty?
No.
Okay,
he
why?
can't get now. First of all, he gets rugby tackled. It's a two-handed. I think it's Shane Long back there of all people.
Yep.
Was it? Yeah. See that's
Yeah,
so.
was.
It's a two-hander. I've seen goal celebrations with hugs less forceful than that, but there's no way. And maybe I'm getting this wrong because I don't know if it's necessarily. Well, I guess the VR official agreed, and so did the referee. Firmino can never ever get to that ball. It's not. Alan Shearer called it a free header, and it's certainly a penalty, and he can't believe that the referee didn't give it or VR didn't get it. I mean, you could take one of us at Union Jack and put us up on Firmino's shoulders, and we still can't reach that ball and head it in. That's if it was a better ball, even at all or slightly. Then we get that call all day. But that ball almost made it to the far side of the 6-yard box before it bounced. And Firmino is, within the frame of the goal or inside the near post, so to speak. And that ball went well beyond. Sorry, it's near post to him, so far post to the cross, right? So that ball cleared him by 5 feet in the air, maybe. I'm just kind of guesstimating here because I can't really tell. The one angle from
you can't
behind
tell
the
he's
goal,
already on his knees
makes it
when the
look
ball
like
passes.
he can get to it, but I don't think he has a chance to get to that. In the referee's perspective, he could see the trajectory of that ball. He probably could easily tell that he isn't going to be able to get to it, and
still
no penalty for me.
Still shouldn't have been mauled like that. I mean, that's the thing. I
agree.
I get what you're saying, Brian. I get what you're saying about playable. A lot of time, I mean, I always go to American football a lot because it's another one of my favorite sports. And yeah, there might be call for pass interference, but if the guy wasn't going to catch it, they're not going to call pass interference, or they're going to pick up a flag on it. Anyway, it's just like, I don't know. He's already kind of falling over when the ball comes. So do we really know if it would have been playable? I mean, you lose 2 feet, drop into your knees. So 5 foot with 3 feet. I don't know if he has a 3 foot jump on him. Let's be honest. But it would have been nice to see him try or see what kind of magic he can pull off because I mean he is Bobby Firmino. But man, he was feeling good this match though, wasn't he? At least in the second half. And I think we'll get there in a minute.
Now, before you do that, Kenny penalty or am I crazy or what?
No, I mean I obviously first reaction. Gut reaction, you're seeing Bobby go down the box like that with 2 hands on him from Shane Long, the Ireland international, and I'm just like, that's a penalty all day, no big deal. But looking back at it, you're completely right, Brian. The ball is not even near him. I mean, you want to be like that, but then you also think you take a step back after watching the first replay and you go, well, if Virgil hits a guy in the box and it's kind of like that, but the ball is way out of the way, would they call it? I mean, I think if that was any other part of the pitch and not in the box in an attacking situation, I think it may have been not a card, but a foul, possibly, just because of the way he tackled him. Now, obviously, any other part of the pitch, if it's not 5 feet over him, yeah, it probably wouldn't have been called either, but I guess I'm just trying to grasp at straws here, but I agree with you there.
No, I think you're onto something. I mean, obstruction is a foul and an indirect free kick in the field of play, but they're not given penalties for it. Hey, Union Jack, I'm screaming for a penalty. We all are. Even after a replay or two, we're still screaming for a penalty. And then I saw the one angle that showed how high the ball was, and I kind of thought, yeah, VAR is not giving that. And, I guess I was lucky and got that one right. But there are lots of people that think that should be a penalty, and it's one of those borderline where if the foul is any harsher maybe, or if the ball's any lower whatsoever, or he's any closer to it at all, then we probably get that call. But right on the edge, we didn't get it, and VAR didn't give it to us either.
I don't know, man. It's like it's one of those things where if the roles reversed, we'd still be hearing about it, about how they missed it on VAR and Liverpool are going to win the league because of bad VAR decisions, and we've paid off the FA. We'll get to that in a minute. I'm just going to move on.
They're still going to do it for the Danny Ings call that was non-call, but by Brian. So it's still it's inevitable. It's like Thanos. It's inevitable. Not to bring the comic book world into this, but it's inevitable that they're going to call us Liverpool.
Yeah, so. True. We need to have.
Hey, you bring the comic book world into this. It's like Jim's here. Hey, Jim. I love it.
Oh man! All right, so Allison, man, he was great again. I thought the center back partnership is the best we have in a long time, and it sure is good to see Joe Gomez back to full strength. And he and Virgil just complement each other so well. I really love watching them. Even though Joel Matip's coming back, I think our 21-year-old Joe Gomez is our center back of the future, especially with Virgil van Dijk.
You're wrong. I think he's 22.
20. Okay, fine. All right. Kenny, first for you, man of the match, and then honorable mention. We've got a lot of contenders today, I think.
We do, and I'm going to start it off by saying I'm at a tie. I'm at an impasse, but I'm going to give it to Bobby Firmino, just because he's my boy through and through. I've liked him since he come to the club. But that's not indicating this match. But he set up 3 goals. I know you want to give it to Mo because he has 2 goals, but he was instrumental into setting up all 3 of those opportunities. And Mo had some He even, as one of the replays for his goal celebration, he even did a little like shaking his hand, like that wasn't too great. That wasn't highlight reel worthy. But he I wrote it in my notes here as 2 goals because he kind of seemed like he didn't want to have that on his goals of the year countdown. So for that, I'm giving it to Bobby Firmino, and honorable mention would be Henderson.
All right, Brian, where you at, bud?
Those are 2 great shouts. I mean, Firmino almost had a 4th assist. He's the guy that played the through ball on the Mo goal that he scored. It was pulled back for offsides in the 54th minute or so.
Yeah.
So that would have been a 4th assist, which is pretty ridiculous. Bobby was just outstanding in the second half, as was mentioned. So Kenny's absolutely right. I mean, he's a great pick. I think I'm going to give it to Henderson. A nice goal, calm, kind of 2-touch finish in the box, and he played a terrific ball through for Mo. Late in the game, and Henderson was just all over the place like he has been lately. He wasn't great in the first half, but nobody really was. I think he was our best midfielder in the first half, and had a great second half with an assist and a nice goal himself. So I'm giving it to Hendo.
Nothing else really to say. You guys did it. I'm going to go with Henderson. Not just from his play up front and scoring goals. He was just everywhere on the pitch. I'll give it to Henderson, and nail on the head with Bobby. Thought he was great. I thought Fabinho in the second half was good. But also I'm going to give an honorable mention to Alisson Becker. Again, keeping a clean sheet. Fantastic saves. I might be mixing matches up, but the guy rockets when he just catches it. that might have been the West Ham match, but anyway.
No, it was this match because I remember that I saw it. Some of the saves that he was making today, it reminded me of West Ham and also reminded me of Wolves when they were having those chances. So it's almost like identical what he's making these saves. So I'm there with you, Joe.
Yeah, he's playing great. So the way we look at it, 3 points closer to clinching. Manchester City lose at Tottenham Hotspur. I was completely amazed by that result. We can maybe get to this a little bit later and what it means. But I just have one last thing for you guys. After the match, people are back on the Liverpool bandwagon. And even our good, well, I don't know about good friend, if I've even really heard of him before, but Statman Gaz calling into BBC 5 and bitching about Liverpool winning the league, and they're all because of VAR. Are you guys to a point where you are tired of hearing about it, or are you at a point where you love hearing about it because everybody else is whining, complaining, and bitching about it? What do you think, Kenny? I'm going to start with you, man.
I I'm over it. I was going to put him in one of my Nog plugs, but I know I've done that in the past. So I know that I've been on the pod enough this year to know that I've used that enough, and it's just something that I just tune it out at this point. It's not to get political, but it's kind of like all the news that's going on in our government here. So
Yeah.
just kind of tune it out. Don't just go on with your daily basis. It's not worth worrying about. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, we're 3 points closer. I think it's hilarious that we're choosing which match. And I know we're going to get into it, but we're choosing which match we want to see them clinch it on, which is absolutely silly.
Hey,
Like I am in the camp, and I think I'm probably the only one in the camp because of what banter has been going around on LFC Indianapolis and LFC America. But I think I'm the only one in the camp that just says, okay, next match. Okay, next match. I think I'm with maybe the starting 11 of the team, but that might be it. It just might be me and them, but even they know that they're going to clinch it.
all right. So hey, Kenny, we'll skip that part for you. Brian and I are going to talk about it though.
Yep.
Oh man, Brian, what do you like seeing it and laughing at it, or are you just tired of it?
I think I've gone kind of full cycle with this, or the full journey for me is complete on that. I mean, it's been months and months and months and months where people would bring it up, and maybe there was something to it back in October, and I don't even remember if there really was, but when people are bringing it up now, I just use it as an indicator of people that are uneducated about the game and woefully uninformed. Not just about us as a team or VAR as a process, or it's just uninformed and uneducated about this league and about other teams. It's generally from idiots that have like one favorite team that don't even watch any of our games, that are looking at unless we're playing them, see a highlight from time to time and are easily swayed by other uninformed idiots on social media, and they're just spouting off. And I used to get involved in it every once in a while, respond, a couple times a week or what have you, just for my own account. And now I don't even do it more than maybe once or twice a month, it seems like. And usually I'll just say, which goals should have come off and where would that leave Liverpool on the table? And I never get a response, because either they don't have enough information to respond intelligently, don't want to bother to look it up, or realize, or just it's just an outlet for them to be so pissed off how good we are. Just blame it on VAR. That's just an easy thing to take, easy path to take, and it makes them look pretty silly at this point.
Manchester United, Indianapolis, you look stupid.
Yeah, man. Well, there's a graphic going around social media now that has kind of reversed all the VDR decisions on goals and put them back on or taken them off, or sorry, let me rephrase that. It's looked at the number of goals that have been. It's a VAR goal difference. Sorry, I'm butchering that. It's a VAR goal difference. So you're ahead or you're behind on goals scored on the pitch based on VAR. We're in -2. And Manchester United's top of that table. So
Exactly.
I'm switching to calling them Manchester VAR United.
And one of them against us too. If you think about it, and the only reason that they drew us in that match was because they called back, or they gave them that goal after when Origi was hacked down, and they said no foul on it. It shouldn't have sprung, and they shouldn't have gotten their goal at Old Trafford.
And Mane had a goal chalked off for handball that VAR had to be involved and confirm that game too.
Yeah. So I mean,
at the top of the box, that would have been an equalizer 1-1, But yeah, it's just, in my opinion, it's just people that are uninformed and they're making themselves look silly at this point. So, what about you, Joe? I mean, you see this everywhere.
I see it
digging in? Or you
because I'm mostly on our podcast Twitter account. So whenever somebody that we're following mentions or retweets something just to laugh at it because they're laughing at it, I see it. So I see a lot of it. I'll tell you though. This Statman Gas thing is pretty funny. I mean, granted, it's 8 minutes long, but if you see it out there, and Robbie Savage is just sitting there going, I hate Liverpool. I never liked playing them. There's no love lost, but this is one of the best teams that we've ever seen in the world. They're 22 points ahead of Manchester United. Just get over it. And I kind of tend to agree with Robbie Savage, not on the hating Liverpool side of it, but they're 22 points ahead. They are a good team. Get over it. Manchester City is struggling this year, and their fans don't know how to react, and that's where most of this is coming from. I'm just tired of seeing it. I really am. Why did I just it? If this had been, let's say, any other club that's won in the past 30 years, I could see it. But it's like everyone is expecting us to be complete assholes about winning the league. And I don't think we really are. And I don't think that we have been with Champions League either. I mean, yeah, we'll drop in every once in a while. It's good to have a little banter with some of your mates or something like that, you know? But it's not like everywhere we go, we're doing it. And it kind of pisses me off that people just can't be like, hey, look, Liverpool's a good team. If the roles were reversed as Manchester City, Liverpool players wouldn't be sitting there bitching up, or Liverpool fans wouldn't be, I'd like to say, wouldn't be bitching about VAR and Manchester City. Freaking just ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, hell, Joe, last year, Manchester City were singing about Liverpool on the bus, right? Yeah. The players were.
Yep. They were.
And I don't remember the context of that. I just remember seeing it and kind of going, that's kind of strange. It's a bus or an airplane. I don't remember. But, hell, the cop isn't even singing about Manchester City.
They've got no history.
And neither are we. But their players were singing about us last year.
Exactly.
That's just – I think that's another thing that's annoying rival supporters is – because of Klopp or because the players or because the club's mindset or, the fans driving them on or whatever it is, they're just keeping their head down and just kicking everybody's ass and not even recognizing, and singing about City or anything. So that's just another facet that makes it so fun is the way we're handling it all.
So I want to skip ahead. One thing, I'm just saying that this is destiny. A couple of reasons. Let's just take examples from the Super Bowl. So America this past Sunday was the Super Bowl, where two best NFL teams, or something like that, play each other in a one match game, and it was Super Bowl LIV.
A cup final.
A cup final. And what else? Both teams typically wear red. So there, it had been written on the pages of the future. Anyway,
Kansas City, Kansas. They're good.
All right,
they are good.
Oh man! All right. So speaking of clinching the league and winning stuff, Brian, I shared my Excel calculation scenario tool with you. So basically, I'm debating if I'm going to put it somewhere where other people can find it. I just don't want it to get messed with or anything like that. It took me maybe about 15 minutes to kind of throw it together in Excel. But anyway, we can calculate how the sorry, let me start over again. You enter in how many points the teams are going to win, how many points the teams are going to earn in each given match, and it calculates down to when there's going to be how many points are left versus how many point of the gap there is. So, Brian, you've messed with it a little bit. What are you thinking? What are you thinking for when we win the league?
Well, first of all, well done. This thing is kind of dangerous, I'll say, because I have not been paying a lot of attention to where and when. A couple of wishes. It'd be nice to do it at home. Or I just hope it happens when we're on the pitch and we get a result as opposed to happening on a day off or, because a city doesn't get a result or what have you. I really hadn't been thinking a whole lot about it. And then this thing shows up on my inbox one morning and I wasn't very productive for a little while. And then I said, okay, let me add the dates to the matches and the actual times for each of these matches. And City have one that's still, the time and dates to be determined. And let me color in some cells with home and road and send it back. And so then I started playing and I'm typing in 3 points here. And I think City might draw this one. And before you know it, it's time for lunch. And then you just say, I'm just going to eat lunch at my desk and keep messing with this thing. So I was not into this whole prediction thing at all. And then I get a hold of this thing and I've messed with it several times. So it's fun. It's interesting. Well done. And as far as when I think we're going to clinch it, I've played with this thing so much. I really I have like 35 different scenarios, I think. Just doing it real quickly again because I have it open in front of me, and full disclosure here. I think that Leicester might hold. City do a draw, and I wouldn't be surprised if United do either, just because that game's full of craziness, and United's not going to play very good. So, and City might not either. So if that happens, it's going to be like around Palace time, or maybe even Everton, depending on what happens to City. So it's going to be the earliest ever. It's going to be in March, and it's going to be glorious.
It's going to be. I'm confident. It's going to be 3:21. So confident that
that's our game against Crystal Palace. For those of you that don't have a schedule.
Game against Crystal Palace.
Let's talk about it for just a second. Sorry, Joe. So the game on the 21st is at 1:30 in the afternoon, and the game before that against Everton is on Monday, the 16th, at 4:00. Now those are both Eastern times. So I have a doctor's appointment, so to speak, on Monday afternoon, the 16th at 4:00.
Well, I mean, Manchester City plays at 8:30 that morning, Eastern Standard Time.
Correct.
For Crystal Palace. So we will know that we need to get a result. And my prediction of it is that they're not going to lose, I don't think draw again. But to win at Everton, Manchester City has to lose twice. I added
if they draw twice, we've got it at Everton.
But I don't know who they're going to draw twice. I think maybe
Leicester.
I don't think so, and here's why. At first, it made me when I also threw in a calendar on another page and kind of looked at it that way. So they have a 2-week break too, but see, they play like sometime this. I think they play this weekend. Manchester City does, and then they have 2 weeks off. So theirs is delayed a bit. So they have a match this week, but they have 2 weeks off to prepare for Leicester.
Yes, they play West Ham on the 9th.
Yeah.
And then they don't play again until the 22nd. Well, we play on the 15th and the 24th. So they're going to play.
But they have 2 weeks to prepare for Leicester.
Correct.
I don't see the barrage throwing anything at them that Pep's going to be able to say, yeah, I'm going to put that one on as a win. I think the players will be ready for it. I don't think their heads they're on the beach yet. So to speak. I think they're coming back from a lot of it. So my thing is I don't think they're going to do that. I do think maybe they'll draw Manchester United just because of the whole emotion of it. But also Manchester United's been known to pull out stupidity and just completely be crap. And City have also blown them out of the water a few times the past few years. So my kind of looking at scenario wise, I don't think I did originally have them drawing Spurs and drawing Leicester, but no, I don't think so. I think they draw again at Chelsea, which is the day that we play Crystal Palace, or lose that match, and that's what I have in there. I'm not guaranteeing, but I feel really good that Liverpool win at home against Crystal Palace on March 21st. So my mother has said that she listens to this podcast, and now she wants to come to Union Jack and experience the whole thing. So what better way than on the day that Liverpool win the title, but by winning or drawing Crystal Palace. And my wife has said that she wants to come that day too, so it's going to be a whole big fun. Make your plans now for March 21st, according to Joe Dilling. It's going to be a good day at Union Jack Pub in beautiful Broad Ripple. Yeah. Brian, you were saying you're thinking.
I stayed out of that one.
Kenny, have you been looking ahead at all, or have you been just?
Nope. All I know is that I hope it's not at Everton. For my own personal travel schedule, I know I'll be out of the country for the Everton match. So I was just looking up on the official supporters club.
Are you going to China? Where are you going?
No, I'm going to Costa Rica. No. So the only other supporters club in Costa Rica is in San Jose, which I noticed. So I will not be near there. So I hope that they have a good internet connection where I am, so I can watch the match. But otherwise, I will plan to be there on the 21st for the what Joe is calling, and I will preface it by saying that what Joe is calling the title clinching match. So. I will not put any bets in. I'll not do anything that. I'm just by way of my sports fandom over my life. I'm not saying anything until the fat lady sings. So
I mean, let's put it this way: we have to have something, and I believe in jinxes, and I'm superstitious about the whole thing. But to lose this league, we have to completely collapse and lose like every single match. I mean, seriously,
I understand that completely.
It's not going to happen.
I'm more on the side where I don't want to say it until it's done.
I got you.
So it could be in March, it could be in April, it could be in May. I hope it doesn't last till the end of the season, but I'm just prepping myself for a possible not showing up on the 21st and it not being the match that we can clinch for some odd reason. But I'm sure it's probably pretty mathematically out of the question by that point.
All right. Okay, so let's move on a little bit. That was fun. Seriously, I've shared it with a few people.
You have to send it to Kenny so we can play around with it.
All right.
At work.
It's a massive waste of time.
Insist.
It's a massive time waster. So like Friday afternoon when you're already cashed out and you're kind of thinking, yeah, I don't really have anything pressing to do. That training is not due for another week, and you can spend all afternoon playing with the scenarios. I even threw Lester in there recently too. So if you want to play, add that in as well.
You send it over. I'm sure I'll play with it. I won't say anything on the pod.
DM me and I'll. If you hear us talking about it here on the podcast and you want to play around too, DM me. I'll give you the information in the podcast notes at the bottom, and I'll share the link with you. So moving on a little bit, there's some rumors that Juve were going to drop $150 million for Virgil van Dijk. Sorry, not happening. He's happy where he is, and we're not selling a club any longer. Anyway, and to mention, also reports came out that Virgil van Dijk and Alisson Becker have also approached the club because they want to extend their contracts. So it's just dumb paper talk. We reportedly have players banging on the door to join us without guaranteed playing time. And by the way, those reports that they wanted it was coming from Melissa Reddy, now at the Independent. So you can take that for pretty much.
Sorry, Joe Reddy was reporting what? I missed that.
That Virgil and Alisson Becker they want new contracts.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
To extend their stay at Liverpool. Anybody else want to say that about Juve trying to unseat Van Dijk, make him uncomfortable and want to leave the club? A la Barcelona and Philippe Coutinho.
It's complete insanity, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, it's just...
It is. It completely is. Look at how he is in practice. Look at how he is in the tunnel with the other team players. He's happy. He's focused, and even out on the pitch, he's having a good time with his guys. He's one of the first guys down to celebrate with goal scorers every single time. He's second captain on the field when Milner's not playing. It really is, and he kind of captains that whole back half and lets Henderson take the front half, for so to speak. But anyway, yeah, he means too much to this team. There's no way we're letting him go. Also, a little bit of interesting discussions popping up. Mbappe blows off Tuchel while he's being subbed in a game that they're winning, and immediately we start seeing headlines that Liverpool are on watch, and people all over the place saying it's happening with the hashtag of Mbappe 2020. So, guys, I'm not going to get my hopes up until he's leaning. But how are you feeling about Kylian Mbappe to Liverpool, Kenny?
Well, honestly, I'm not thinking anything of it. The only mention I knew of it was the Forfo Tunes YouTube channel that had it pretty much played out about Mbappe and 5 reasons why Mbappe was mad on the touchline or something, and it was something completely silly, and you got to check it out. It's the DIVAS club that him, Neymar, and Cavani are in. It's weird, but it's definitely a funny video, and really I didn't think anything of it. I think the last time I was on, we had these discussions, so it must be something about me getting back on the pod that the Mbappe 2020 is being talked about. But to be honest, I'm with you, Joe. It's really waiting until something's in solid talks, or if he shows up at Melwood, then I'll actually start considering it.
There we go, Brian. I know you don't take anything from this, so we'll just go ahead and move on.
He's a hell of a player, and he's young, and he'd cost a fortune, and I think we could spend that money. I mean, this club has proven they could spend money wisely. I don't know how great of a pick that would be, but at the same time, we'd have to have a front three-player leave to do that. I don't want that to happen, but if it does happen, you would get to come up with a song, Rage Against the Machine, like a Killian in the name of, and you could, come up with it and sing it on the cop.
And you shoot with your right foot.
So start working on that and send us a spreadsheet, would you?
And you run down the right side. And you run down the right side.
Oh, geez, you just made Joe have some wet dreams about that song now.
Hey,
Brian.
Brian knows I'm a huge Rage Against the Machine fan. Yeah, and that song is Killing in the Name is one of my favorites. All right.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So, meanwhile, the first team is on a 2-week break. We've seen pictures of Bobby and Allison's in Brazil training. Where did I see Virgil? They're like Virgil, Ox, and Jenny are all in the same place, and they're doing their individualized workouts together. There was a picture of them all together. It was kind of cool. It's good to see the guys. They are on break. They do have individual workouts, probably just running and stretching and staying kind of in shape. Maybe a little bit of light ball work or whatever. Allison going through drills. I don't think that's going to change anything. But he's at home relaxing, seeing family. We're getting a little bit of work in. But James Milner calls up Neil Critchley and says, "Hey, can I come train with the lads this week?" James Milner is still kind of on injury, so he probably didn't jet off to Spain to go play golf this time. Can I come train with the team that's going to play in the FA Cup? Yeah, sure. Come on down. Hey, can I talk to the guys in the locker room? Yeah, sure. James Milner sits behind the bench, and he's about as animated as any single coach out there. We're going to talk a little bit about this Shrewsbury match in the replay, but first I want to get to James Milner. Man, really awesome guy. And I think my initial reaction to seeing these reports, because nobody could watch the match anywhere, except for Jurgen Klopp,
not legally,
and the other players. Yeah, exactly. But it's great to see this kind of stuff from a senior player. I think James Milner's been through it all. He's been that young and been playing in first team matches. And it's good to see, but my initial reaction is, man, James Milner, when your time's done at Liverpool, I want you somewhere on this staff. What do you guys think?
It certainly looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know if he has his coaching badges, but you better get them soon.
Yeah, I mean, it was really neat for him to see. I'm sure the young players liked it, and there's no better guy on this team to go speak and train with and work with some of the younger players. I mean, hell, when he was 16 or 17, he was with Leeds in their first team. I mean, he knows what it's like to be really young and be on the big stage and that kind of thing. Either he held the record for the youngest goal scorer in the Premier League for a while, or he might still hold it. I could be wrong about that. But he was really young when he came up and was playing Premier League matches. So I don't know if there's any truth to the rumor that he was just training with them so that he can tell all these young kids that none of them have a shot in the preseason lactate test for the next 6 or 7 years, so they can just get it out of their damn heads that any of them can beat them. But that was just rumor. That could be not true.
Oh, man. All right. So Liverpool first team is out on 2-week break, but there was an FA Cup match replay.
Wait, did you see where speaking of the break, I'm sorry, Joe, did you see where Trent was at yesterday?
Yeah, he's in Miami. And
he's in Miami, like hanging out in NBA games.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Team Under Armour. Yeah,
yeah. Next to some of these players, he looks like he's like a 12-year-old kid. next to these massive NBA players. So, yeah.
Oh man.
I was going to mention that because I saw also Lalana. I follow him on Instagram. He was in Miami as well. I think he was doing some training or maybe trying out for
Miami
Atletico
FC,
Miami or whatever the heck it is.
Oh, that's
here in the
another
US,
year.
So for Beckham's team. So who knows?
Hey, it could be USL team Miami FC, and then roll it into Atletico Miami or whatever. Yeah. Anyway,
I think they call themselves Really Athletic Miami. I think that's what they're called.
Bend it athletically. Anyway, so that was a bad joke. Sorry. Okay, so anyway, the Shrewsbury match had a replay at Anfield. Made a lot of concessions to make this match happen. Klopp pretty much came out right away and said, "Hey, look, we're not going to play our first team. We were told to have a break." We all know that story. We talked about it last week. Cut ticket prices, sold out Anfield for the fourth round of the FA Cup. It was basically a U19 team out there on the field against. Granted, it's League One. Shrewsbury. Sorry, I'm struggling all of a sudden. League One Shrewsbury, and I'm telling you, listening to it on the match and hearing our buddy Steve and Neil Mellor call the match, it sounded like we were dominating. It really did. Nobody could watch it except for Jurgen Klopp. There might have been a few streams out there, also where people could watch it, but some of us were working, so we couldn't give full focus on it. But it was an own goal, but I did somehow see a clip of the goal. Have you guys seen the clip of the goal?
I watched the highlights earlier today, and there was a couple points in the match that I'd be happy to mention, but it was actually hilarious to watch that goal. It was a headed ball. It looked like I don't know, Van Persie's goal in the, I don't know what World Cup it was, but when he kind of heads it and bops it over the goalkeeper, but it was his own defender. And the guy, add insult to injury, but the guy was a Man U
that's right.
Boney.
That's right.
Which is hilarious. At Anfield in the Cop End, couldn't have been written better. I think it was Chiravella or it was either Chiravella or Nico Williams that passed that ball in. I think it was intended for Harvey Elliott, and the guy just got a head on it, popped it over his goalkeeper. That was hilarious. I do want to bring it back. I don't know if Brian saw the highlights, but there was a VAR decision, of course, bringing it back to Live Liverpool. There was a VAR decision in the FA Cup, and it was a Shrewsbury goal that was called back. So Did you see the highlights, Brian?
Brian dropped off for a minute. Hopefully he's able to join us again. So I did not see the replay of it. I thought I saw a picture maybe, and it definitely was offsides, but it wasn't even really close, I don't think.
Which brought up a point in my head. Really, when watching the highlights, I was surprised when I saw it. Yes, the guy was offsides when the ball comes off I think it's Kelleher. He deflects it, and then the guy gets it, pops it over Kelleher there. But it was such a bang play, and then you kind of pull it back. But what I thought was kind of confusing, which is kind of silly, and honestly, to kind of be in the rally against VAR people, along with pretty much everyone else in the Premier League that's not a Liverpool fan, it seems at this point. But it seems like that, and they even talked about it on the Indie Reds or LFC TV broadcast, that it's only at the Premier League grounds, this VAR technology, and not at the other ground games. So apparently there was in the reverse fixture, there was a moment where we had a possible VAR penalty call, and they didn't call it because VAR wasn't at the ground, which I think is silly for a competition like this. Either turn off the VAR completely, or and don't use it throughout the competition or have it at every ground. I think that's a bit ridiculous. What are your thoughts, Joe?
Yeah, I think I did think it was a little odd too. If you're not going to have it at one spot or in other matches, why are they doing it in this one? So I mean that's a good point, Kenny. And something that really hasn't heard much going around because everyone's just celebrating that these kids did it. These kids. I mean, think about it. This is probably one of their games of their lives. This is what they've been dreaming of since they were little kids. They're 18 years old. They're playing in front of a full Anfield, and they're winning a cup match. People want to talk about how crap or how we crapped on the FA Cup, but this is what they talk about when they talk about the magic of the FA Cup is this match. This kind of thing happening. The underdogs, because they were underdogs in this match. I mean, 18-year-old kids. Granted, they're at Liverpool, but still going up against these guys that this is their job. Granted, it's a League One side, but still, it's just amazing that this happens. And now we get to go on and play Chelsea.
Yeah, absolutely. And also a fun little plug that I found out through the highlights or through listening to LFC TV, and they did a great job of presenting it for those who can't watch it, which is silly, and that's going to go into my non-plugs of the day. But Joe Hardy, a name that may be something that we might want to keep an eye out on the future. He may end up being one of these guys like Nico Williams or like Harvey Elliott or Curtis Jones that we hear in the future. But he was apparently a City prospect and then was bounced around to a couple different teams and made his Liverpool debut as a sub this past year. Never took any top flight plays, but you heard him through the coverage, and he made it somewhat of an impact and was very much a pressing force. But really, kind of in this match, you heard three names, as I mentioned: Nico Williams, Curtis Jones, and Harvey Elliott. So that's definitely great signs of the young guys for the future. I think they should just throw this team out there in Chelsea and see what happens. It's really I give this to the guys. Wait till we go to Wembley and play in the final for some of our guys. But honestly, at that point, if we beat Chelsea at Chelsea, or I don't know is that the semifinals where we do 1-1, or is it still one off?
I don't know. I haven't. It's been a while because
I haven't even looked at it.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it because I had it thrown away. All right, so Brian, Kenny told us how he wants to line up, play the youngins against Chelsea. What are you thinking?
I think I see Elliott out there. Maybe Jones is out there with Henderson for an hour or something like that. I mean, I could see something like that. I don't think the front three is going to be the front three, but it is Chelsea, and if we want to beat them, we're going to have to play well. And I mean, it'll be an interesting game. I'm kind of not really sure what Klopp's going to do. I think the only one that knows what Klopp's going to do is Bobak, and he never tells us to the last minute.
True.
Oh man, that's good stuff. Good stuff. So, I'm thinking he's going to play some of these guys that need a game. Especially in the two.
Keita, play Keita.
Play Keita. That's a good shout. I think Origi, probably Shaq if he's healthy. Those guys. I mean, this is March 5th is the match at the Plastic Shed, and we'll see how it all boils down at that point in time. But it sure is great to see these kids pull that win out, and for everyone. And it's also great to see everyone on Instagram today and to see a lot of the senior players celebrating these guys. Just kind of shows how much it means how much it means to the team and this whole team mentality we have. I almost guarantee if Manchester City had done this, you wouldn't see that. But that's just me saying that because Liverpool's my team. All right, let's go ahead and start wrapping it up, everybody. Plugs and non-plugs. Kenny, coming to you first.
All right. Well, I do have one plug, and it's kind of in relation to that U23 or U19, whatever you want to call it, team. But I actually want to plug Raheem Brewster. I don't know if you guys saw this video, and I know it's been popping around social media,
yes.
But he playfully shows the ref a yellow card in his time at Swansea. So it was a situation, probably fell out of the ref's pocket when he was given a bunch of people yellow cards or was giving someone a red card. It just popped out. But he it's about a 13-second clip. I'll have to send it to or post it on the page. I don't know if it already has been, but it's just him walking up playfully with a big grin on his face and just shows the ref a yellow card and hands it back to him. And it's honestly one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time, especially with Liverpool supporters. And kind of to draw it back to what you guys said before with him, he's taken this loan to Swansea. We all kind of knew it was coming, but he's taken it in stride. He's been scoring goals. He's being congratulated. He kind of has that team mentality, even though he's still out on loan. It definitely shows, and the best of luck to him on the rest of the campaign. Up the Swans on that. As far as non-plugs go, I think I hinted at this before, but ESPN Plus or ESPN, and obviously coming from Connecticut, it's a soft spot for me. But not airing the match, the comeback match here in the U.S. Personally, I think I've been keeping the subscription just to watch these types of matches, the FA Cups, the Carabao Cups, or the
Indy 11
Company Cup, as they may call it. But
USL.
It's kind of crazy that we have to call a hotline to get them to play a match. Like I think they had like second tier rugby and like curling and other things on ESPN Plus that day. Like you couldn't put a soccer match, which is for Liverpool, a top club in the FA Cup. Like even if it's the young guys, put it on there. I pay for the subscription monthly. I know it's probably squeaky wheel gets the grease and you have to call up to get it, but it was just kind of ridiculous that they didn't even offer it as an option, even if it was like a pay-in option. But I don't know. It was pretty crazy that happened.
It was, especially as they couldn't even watch it in England either. That was the crazy thing too. So that's
I thought it was just the U.S. That's why I was so against ESPN.
There was a lot of guys complaining about it. There were a lot of people that somehow there was a feed that was going around. People were saying, make sure you use your VPN. We don't want this thing shut down. All that kind of stuff. But yeah, there was some feed, but that's probably why ESPN Plus didn't cover, is because there wasn't a feed from their provider. So somehow somebody had hacked through. But yeah. I get what you're saying, but Kenny, you can always watch USL on ESPN Plus.
That's true. I can.
And Indy 11.
I can't wait for that to get started because I think we're playing here. The Indy 11 are playing Hartford Athletic in the second or third home match, and I'm ready to cheer on the 11 here. So.
All right. We're going to be out there. I have season tickets this year. Brian has just re-upped. Jim has just re-upped.
So did Jim. Yep, a lot of our listeners have.
A lot of our listeners and a lot of our co-hosts that come on from time to time. Our good friend Zach has re-upped as well. I know. So, and of course Jordan Green has.
Trey hasn't bought a ticket. The cheapskate.
Yeah, freaking Trey. He's never.
Married.
You know what?
He's married now, though.
I don't think Trey's ever bought a ticket to Indy 11.
Well, he's had media passes for a couple of years when he was, doing his thing when they first started, and then did some internships and. Yeah, now he's working for him. Yeah. So
now he works game days. Jeez, what a waste. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, Brian, plugs, not plugs, buddy.
Well, Kenny's going to be mad at me, but I'd like to plug, semi-professional co-ed curling. It's probably the 20th or 30th best sport on ice that there is. So there's that.
I'm interested to know the top 19 or 29.
Well, certainly ice hockey is most certainly
ice hockey is number one. But
ice hockey is clearly the best. The luge is interesting.
Oh, true.
In bobsled and those motorcycles with those spiky wheels. Those motorcycles with those spiky wheels.
Don't forget the
short track speed skating kicks all kinds of ass in Olympic time.
Yeah.
Even the long track stuff is pretty cool. There's
snowmobile drag racing,
ice dancing, and ice fishing and ice racing. It's probably somewhere.
Ice soccer.
Yeah, see,
over in Europe, that's I take it back.
Street hockey in the middle of the streets in St. Louis when I was a kid. That's up there. Anyway, no, that's not my official plug. One quick one. Hey, Virgil finally did away with his blue boots, and I'm very excited. He's Joe and I have been kind of laughing back and forth. He's been wearing this kind of orangish and white Nike boot in warm-ups and training the last couple of weeks, and then he wore them this last match. So it's a weird thing that blue boots bother me on a Liverpool player, but they just kind of do. I guess I've been watching this team for too long. But so well done, Virgil, for switching to those boots. I think Gomez is wearing them too.
Yeah.
And what else? You know what, Joe, you going to say anything about Nike? I want to plug that real quick. Did you see that
go for
news?
it. I completely forgot to bring it up, but go for it.
Yeah, okay. Well, then I'll plug it real quick. So I wasn't ever really worried about this, but some other people were. You know, Nike has had a history of kind of using what people will call kind of jersey templates. They did this in a World Cup, which is, doesn't get any bigger stage than that, where there are some kits made by Nike that were similar. They just changed, the jersey color, the sleeve color, the trim color, and they were all very similar. Well, I never expected Nike to do that to us. We're too big of a club, and it just wasn't ever going to happen. Nike leadership came out today here in the States and said that they're not going to be using templates for kits next year, and most certainly not for Liverpool, and they're planning on doing us right, so to speak, and coming up with something, unique and fitting of a club of our stature. So that was really good to see. So plug the Nike there.
Did you see the Nigeria kits, Brian?
Sorry?
Did you see the Nigeria kits?
I just saw them for like a split second as I was scrolling through. I didn't really get a good look at them. But, yeah, Nigeria has been an example for years of what Nike can do that doesn't match anything else that they do. And like I said, I wasn't worried about it, but yeah. What do you think of the new Nigeria ones? You like them?
I not as much as the last World Cup ones, but I think they look really great. I really like.
That's what I was just gonna say as well. I like the previous World Cup ones, but those ones certainly look nice. Did you see the U.S. ones?
No, I didn't. I just saw Nigeria.
They were in the same. It was Nigeria, Korea, and U.S. that got new kit designs. The U.S. home one looks kind of like those Centennial ones that we had a couple years ago.
Okay.
Centennial year or something of that nature of the club with that kind of classic
the different
square badge. But
yeah, Owen has one.
Yeah,
of those
they kind of took how they're doing with the Nike, with that kind of Nike Air swoosh, where it has Nike and the swoosh in the same logo, that kind of classic style. For some of the third kits this year, they did that on both kits, I believe, for the U.S.
Interesting.
team. The U.S.
check it out.
The blue one is interesting, but because it kind of has a little bit of a design in it, but I don't know how to take it. I'm sure they have some reasoning behind it.
Yeah, they're doing it for the
they'll
Olympics.
Certainly sell.
Yeah, these are for the Olympics.
Sure.
Brian, I just found it. Kenny's exactly right. They are bringing back that Centennial USA badge.
Really?
I like it. It's a clean kit. You go white with blue shorts.
Especially after you wash it.
Yeah, exactly. And don't get grass stained. The blue kit looks pretty sharp too. I like it. It
nice.
looks.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's out there on Google. All right, Brian. Do you have anything else?
I have one quick non-plug, and then maybe one that's not so quick. So the quick one is Liverpool supporters worldwide. Stop suggesting that in this league run-in we should sign Steven Gerrard and he should play 5 minutes. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It's embarrassing, and it's just. I've seen it a handful of times. I've seen it in a couple of Facebook groups, and some of them I just hang around in just to laugh at the nonsense. People that don't know what channel the game is on, all that kind of crap. But
oh my God,
I've seen it probably 24 times, and it's just probably more than that actually. It's just ridiculous. But my real non-plug tonight. This might be the first ever, and probably the last time ever. I'm going to non-plug Liverpool FC, and the reason for this is what's going on with the women's team right now. So not just results that are terrible, but they play their matches at Tranmere, and I don't know if everybody knows that. I didn't know that till this year. Our kids met the ladies team up at Notre Dame, and I was just following them a little bit, and every once in a while they'll get a mention on a couple podcasts I listen to. But this pitch is terrible. The LFC youth teams are playing over there. The women are playing over there. It's awful. They had to cancel a game last week because the pitch was so bad. Liverpool pays Tranmere, if I understand correctly, because I did a little bit of looking into it. Liverpool pays Tranmere some money to use their facility like they should and like any club would, but they're not offering any support with their pitch experts, or I guess they're just saying, here's the money for let us play there, and that's good, and that's kind of it. that surprises me a little bit because one of these players is going to get hurt, or like you said, a game being canceled. The Anfield pitch is, miraculous and spectacular. Everybody knows that, and not that Tranmere is going to be able to do the same, but I feel like we should be doing a slightly better job helping them out with their pitch, especially since we're playing more games on it than Tranmere is. So just a small, tiny little itty bitty non-plug to LFC with the state of the pitch at Tranmere.
You know what's going to happen, Brian? When Everton,
they're going to get relegated. Tranmere is about to be relegated.
I was going to say when Everton finally move out to West Bramley Dock in their brand new stadium, Liverpool's going to buy Goodison Park and put the women and youth team over there. How about that?
That would be funny.
Change the seats and
make them all red. Yeah, the women would have their own stadium.
Knock it down and then. Yeah.
No, just keep it like it is.
Hey, we
can't be playing Goodison the way it is now. It's a shithole.
Well, yeah, but I mean, fix it up a little bit, renovate a little bit.
Actually, what we should do is just buy it, dig up the pitch, take it over to Tranmere, lay it down, and say, "Okay, good."
Okay.
Oh my god.
my unplug is for that option. But no, I'm kidding. So as mentioned, this past Sunday was the Super Bowl, and one of the things that a lot of people do is they don't pay attention to the game. They're just there to watch the commercials. Well, my unplug is for big money political ads. Athlete during this sporting event, athletes are told, sports announcers, etc., are always told stick to sports, and the hypocritically, it's okay for them to pay $5 million and spread their web of lies. They can't give us just one day without playing politics. My plug is, of course, Union Jack Pub, but also to my mom's going to come down and watch a Liverpool match. So on March 21st to watch us clinch on our title clinching match. So you're going to want to be there. Take my word for it. Not because my mom's going to be crazy or anything like that, but you'll get to see why, at least a little bit of why I am the way I am. So anyway. All right. So thank you guys. We're going to finish it up here. Thanks for tuning in. If this is your first time listening, if it's your 100th time and 7th time listening, thank you so much. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Hope we did a good enough job and you're going to stick around and keep downloading. Kenny and Brian, thanks for coming on, guys. Really appreciate it. If you want to get a hold of us, we're going to have contact information in the podcast notes. So just kind of expand that little bottom section and say, oh, hey, that's I'm going to get a hold of them on Twitter. And just reach out to us. Again, if you want that, if you have some time to waste at work and you want that Excel spreadsheet, just shoot the podcast a DM, and we'll see if we can get something sent over to you. This is Joe Dilling signing off for the 107th episode of the Indie Reds podcast, our 3rd anniversary podcast. You'll never walk alone.